Okay, so we're back and diving right back into Fanny's wild hitchhiking adventure.
Yeah, last time we left her in a pretty intense place.
Totally. She was over 12 days at sea at that point and really struggling with, keeping it together mentally.
Right, and physically too. I mean,
Yeah.
constantly being tossed around by the waves like that.
Exactly. It takes a toll. And from her writing in Hitchhike, it's clear she was just desperate to get to land.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
for this deep dive, we're going to stick with her on that boat and explore those key moments leading up to her first sight of land.
And then what happened when she actually reached the Caribbean?
Yeah, because it might not be exactly what you'd expect.
Okay, so she's still out on the open ocean, having just come through that storm. Then this bird appears, and she sees it as a sign, a message of hope, that land is near.
Right, a turning point.
But at the same time, she writes that she felt like she lost her mind. So there's this really interesting contrast there.
Yeah, it is. And what happens next is she describes this rush of emotions, this euphoric cocktail, as she calls it.
I love that.
So, she's still dealing with discomfort and suffering and boredom, but it's all mixed up with this growing excitement and this feeling of incredible freedom.
Like she's totally in the moment.
Exactly. And it seems kind of paradoxical, right? Experiencing those hardships and that elation all at once.
Definitely. And then the way she acts out this euphoria is just wild.
It really is.
So suddenly she's picturing these neon lights hanging everywhere and she's singing her heart out. And then, get this, she starts dancing on the boat's poles.
Like a sacred ritual, she says.
It sounds like a totally transformative experience.
Absolutely. She describes it almost as an out-of-body experience. These movements that in a normal setting would seem totally uncoordinated.
Right.
But inside, she feels like it's just perfect.
Like everything's flowing together.
Yeah, her arms are all over the place, her head's moving freely. She's just completely giving in to this burst of energy.
Wow.
And it's really interesting how she links this outburst to her life before the trip.
Oh.
Because she describes herself as a real people person, a chronic extrovert. So being completely isolated on the ocean was such a huge change for her.
A total 180.
And you can see how this dance was vital for her to deal with that.
Like her soul just needed to break free after feeling trapped for so long.
Exactly. And that's how she puts it too. She calls it her fluid dance. And it becomes this incredible outlet for her.
I mean, it's more than just her going a little crazy. It's like a deeply personal, almost therapeutic response to what she's going through.
Right. She lists all these benefits from relaxation, a sense of control, freedom, security, and this really strong feeling of being present in the moment.
And that setting just adds another layer to it, doesn't it? Dancing under the moon out on the vast ocean.
Oh, yeah. It's powerful stuff. She says it made her feel even more connected to her surroundings, and all the shame and worry and fear just disappeared.
And the fact that she was dancing so close to the edge of the boat.
Yeah, seemingly without a care in the world, feeling free of fear, as she puts it, really emphasizes how profound this whole experience was.
Like she was so in the moment that any sense of danger just melted away.
Exactly. But then after about 10 or 15 minutes, this intense high fades, and she's left feeling incredibly peaceful and harmonious.
It seems like that whole episode was almost cathartic, helping her finally accept her situation and find peace with the ocean and with herself.
Yeah, that's a key takeaway here. This huge emotional release seems to have opened the door to a much calmer and more centered state of mind.
Which makes the anticipation of finally reaching land even more intense.
Definitely. And then day 15 arrives, the day she spots land on the horizon.
After what must have felt like forever.
Right. She describes the impact of seeing those colors. Brown and green after being surrounded by nothing but blue for so long.
Yeah, and the feelings come rushing back. She compares it to the joy of falling in love or landing your dream job or winning the lottery.
It's pure ecstasy.
But then she hits this unexpected challenge, having to be patient.
Oh, yeah. They start sailing past all these islands without stopping.
And after all that time at sea, that must have been agonizing.
Definitely. So this is where she comes up with this game to help herself cope.
Okay, tell me about this.
So as they're sailing past places like St. Bart's and the Cayman Islands and the Bahamas, she starts picturing all these celebrities hanging out on the beaches.
That's hilarious.
And it's so specific, too. She mentions wanting to spot people like George and Amal Clooney or Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt.
Remember, this was a while back.
Right. It really shows just how much she was craving human connection after all that isolation.
And it's interesting to think that this mental exercise might have actually made time feel like it was passing faster.
Yeah, maybe without realizing it, she was distracting herself and helping them get closer to their destination. St. Martin.
And then she sees it.
St. Martin comes into view, and she describes this laser focus on the approaching island, almost like a meditative state.
Everything leading up to this moment.
And then, as they enter the harbor, the smell hits her. That intoxicating scent of trees.
You can practically feel her excitement growing as she gets closer and closer to land.
And then finally the moment arrives. The boat docks, they tie it off, and she takes those first steps back onto solid ground.
Relief, right?
You would think. But then this totally unexpected thing happens.
What's that?
Land sickness.
Oh, no. After she finally got her sea legs.
It's like a cruel joke from the universe.
Yeah.
You know, she's hit with this wave of nausea, but this time it's because her body's not used to being still.
That's wild. So the relief she felt is instantly replaced by disappointment.
Yeah, she describes having to sit down and just breathe, trying to make the feeling go away. She says it was almost shattering to go through so much on the sea, only to face a similar problem the moment she reached her goal.
She uses this really vivid image to describe it. The snake bit its own tail, this feeling of going round and round.
And even though she's on solid ground, her body's still catching up. She describes still feeling the motion of the waves and having to lean on things to keep from falling over.
Like she's drunk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But she's resilient. So as lunchtime rolls around, she shifts into problem-solving mode, and they all head out to find a restaurant. Some of them are walking fine, but others are still a bit wobbly from the land sickness.
And what does she crave after all that time at sea?
Not exactly health food.
I bet.
She goes straight for oily fries, a burger with ketchup and mayo.
Yeah.
Just pure comfort food.
After all those carefully prepared meals on the boat?
It's such a human thing.
Yeah.
Craving something familiar and indulgent after a period of restriction.
Even if what you were eating before was actually good for you.
Right. In that moment, it's about more than just filling your stomach.
Right.
It's about feeling normal again, connecting to something comforting from your past.
But her stomach isn't ready for that.
Nope. It throws a total rebellion. After getting used to the simpler, healthier food at sea, it's not happy about this sudden onslaught of grease and heaviness.
Makes sense. She talks about this battle going on inside her between what she wants to eat and what her body can actually handle.
And it's interesting because she admits to not having any self-control in that moment. Even after spending 3 months preparing for the trip and even doing some fasting beforehand.
Those cravings can be powerful.
They really can, especially after an intense or unusual experience. So yeah, she comes back down to earth pretty hard after that amazing high of finally spotting land.
Such a wild ride. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into Fanny's first experiences in the Caribbean.
And we're not done yet. Next time we'll be joining her and Laura as they start island hopping, exploring some destinations that most people only dream of.
And as Fanny's adventure continues, she's learning that you don't need to be rich to have incredible experiences.
Right. Her hitchhiking journey keeps opening these amazing doors and taking her to unforgettable places in ways she never could have planned.
Exactly. So thinking about Fanny's experience today, think about a time when you finally achieved something you'd been working towards for ages.
That feeling of relief.
But then right after that, you were hit with a new and unexpected obstacle.
How did you deal with that? And what did that experience teach you about your own resilience?
It's definitely something worth reflecting on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
See you next time.
Bye!